Hi, everybody. Thomas Garrison here with SEO Tom. Hi, Jody, and hi, everybody. Been around forever. There's Mitch finally showing in, and been doing this almost 25 years here with my co-host. I guess I should make him the co-host today. Arthur's looking at me odd. There we are, Arthur. Co-host Arthur, who's been also doing this better than 20 years, but we're here if anybody needs some help after the meetings, during the meetings, obviously. And if you need to hire somebody, give us a jingle, we'll tell you what we can do for you. Backup. Maintenance and backup. But one of the biggest parts about maintenance is just backing up the site. So I'm going to do a quick share, and then I kind of want to just open it up to the group. And I was asking Sue Ellen, I don't know if everybody understands what cPanel is, but it's software on the server. If you have a really good hosting company, they give you cPanel. It's included with their pricing. Also, they have what's called Let's Encrypt, which is an SSL. You can see up here in the top, HTTPS. You don't pay for that either. That's also part. That's when you host with A2. I believe Green Geeks does it too. Is that true, Arthur? Your mic isn't on. Don't know why. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Guess Arthur is down for the count. Well, at any rate, I was just asking if Green Geeks offers cPanel and SSL, free SSL. Yes? No? Give me a thumbs up, Arthur. Yes, they do. Okay. So that takes care of that. Anyway, dealing with cPanel is really easy. And if somebody says, well, how do you back up? And this came to mind, part of the reason for this subject for today's meeting was because somebody contacted me, and I think it was either late Friday or Saturday morning. And they said that they had just taken down the site, their WordPress site, because they disabled WooCommerce. And I thought, well, that's a mess. And of course, he's a tech guy, but he's not a web developer. So he didn't know that that was not something that you should do. He was just trying to turn off stuff to test or do whatever. But the main reason I bring that up is because I said, if you've got cPanel, it's really simple. When you log into cPanel, you have 100% control over everything having to do with your site. And when I say everything, it means you can literally get into the database through cPanel. So you can create email accounts, forwarders, autoresponders, filters for spam, calendars, all kinds of stuff. But the main parts in cPanel for maintenance are backup. That's where you just click, go to the specific database that you want, and you click on that, and it asks you to download it. And that's exactly what you do. You decide what you're going to name it or where you're going to save it. And you click save. That's it. You just saved the entire database. And in fact, I'll even do it so that you can see how fast this is for the TA Garrison site. It's not a huge site, but it's and it's done. So that's downloading the database. How simple is that? That's 90% of your site. So you could do the home directory and download that, but that's everything in the server, and I don't like that. So I go to File Manager back at the main page of cPanel, and I get into public_HTML, which that is all of your files for your entire website. Everything. So if you click the first one, go to the last one, hold the shift key and click on the last one, and that selects everything. Then if I can move this bar from zoom out of the way, you hit compress up here at the top of the screen, and you decide which kind of zip file. You can choose any one of them. You can just do a zip if that's what you want. I usually do a gzip, and then you go down here, name it whatever that you want, or you can leave the name as it is, but I like to know what I'm doing. So I can name it anything before the .tar.gz, and then compress it. And it takes less than a minute, and it'll be done. And I'll watch what I do with the zip file after it's created. It's taking its sweet time because we're connected today. There it is, and it's done in less than a minute. That is my entire website. I can close this window now, and here is the file that it created. Then I'm going to download that file and put it in the same place that I backed up the database with the same date, so that I know those two match. Literally, if your entire site goes upside down or sideways or whatever, those two files are all you need to reinstall your entire site as it was prior to anything happening. That's critical to make sure that you've got a recent backup, because if you've done a lot of editing, you're going to lose it if you don't do a backup when you have finished doing all of that editing. So anytime that you're doing more than just well, here's a couple of sentences I changed, or you do it whenever that you want, but it's so simple to do it this way, there's no reason not to back it up as many times as you want. There's no limit to the number of backups that you can do. Servers themselves, A2, Green Geeks, most servers do their own backup. I don't like those backups. I don't trust those backups. What I just showed you creates two files that I know for a fact are not corrupted. They've been downloaded, and I can rebuild the entire site in minutes just from uploading those two files. Now, Mitch, you had your hand up. Let's see. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask about aren't these auto backed up? I mean, isn't there but I think it just mentioned, right? I mean, these servers get auto backed up.
Most servers do an auto backup, but like I was just saying, I don't even consider those, because if they didn't do an entire backup of the site or whatever method that they used, I don't want to mess with it, because I'm thinking after I grab whose ever backup that I've got, how much of a hassle is it going to be to figure out how to use the backups that have been created?
You just got to remind yourself to do it.
So for me to do a backup of everything, I would go right back over here to File Manager into the public HTML, and I would upload the zip file that I just created and let that overwrite everything in the site and do the same.
It's got to be part of your routine. You got to mentally remember to do it.
Well, you can wipe out everything in there and just upload the zip file and extract that zip file. So either way.
Are these is this your actual web server?
Yes.
The web server.
I'm in the A2 hosting server for my particular website.
What hosting? A2?
A2hosting.com, yes. And I don't ever save. That's one step that I didn't tell you before. Don't ever allow your website, if you've taken a backup here, you download that thing and then delete it from the root. Hackers can get into that file. So if they get into that, they can get into anything and they end up in a server. So delete that backup file once you've downloaded it.
I see
Yeah.
you have, you got a Perl directory, Perl still?
Say that again.
I see you have a Perl directory, do you write in Perl?
Oh, the A2 servers create all of these files over here in the left pane. Now, when you do something in the server, like creating a subdomain or an extra folder that you want to put something, whatever that you're doing, that appears over here on the left too. By going to, here's the public. That's the one that you're always in. Public_HTML is the only place you have any business messing with. If you get into that other stuff, you can and literally take down your part of the server and kill your site. And if you start erasing, I had a friend of mine do that years ago. I said, don't touch these over here. He goes, say, I was just cleaning things up and I thought I'd get rid of all that stuff. And I go, you just erased all the files that make your domain, make your site work. On the server, they have to have that stuff. So for Perl or anything else, Perl's installed by the hosting company. You can use it or not. I don't happen to be using Perl, but it's there. So there's a lot of stuff installed in case you want to use this, that, or the other thing. It's like the light server cache. I use Joomla, so I'm not using the light server cache. I use their servers are fast in the first place because they are light speed. And Joomla, the way that it's set up, doesn't need to have the light speed cache server. That's usually for WordPress. Let's see.
And crashing the site, I'm going to take it as a bad thing.
Say that
So
again.
if you have,
Crashing the site is bad. It's bad.
Well, yeah.
if
I'm
you
kind
have,
of being a little
Arthur, you're back.
yeah,
comical.
yeah, if you have other sites that are WordPress sites on the same server, then you will need that ls cache file.
Yeah, I
But
do.
if-
I have a reseller account, so I do have some people in my reseller account who are using WordPress, so it gets used. Jody was asking, can you use cPanel with GoDaddy? Yes, for unknown reasons, which that's just the way the GoDaddy works. And Sue Ellen was saying, they do charge extra. Isn't that correct, Sue Ellen? Talking to the hand, Sue Ellen.
I don't think they do. It depends on
It,
your
it
hosting.
depends. It depends on the account. They have a basic WordPress. They all have a cPanel now. SSL is what sometimes they charge extra depending on what level of hosting account you have.
Okay. So
So-
Jody, cPanel depends on your account, as you were hearing. I know with A2, and I think with Green Geeks, Arthur can correct me if I'm wrong. I know that A2, cPanel is included in all their accounts, unless you tell them you don't want it. And the SSL is included in all the accounts. And
Yeah,
you can get a specific SSL for your site if you want to. I don't see the need, but that's fine for a lot of people. It really depends on how secure that you need your site.
Yeah, I always recommend not using the free one. Just pay for the $100 a year for the one that's gonna secure all your subdomains and email and stuff like that. The free version doesn't cover that stuff.
And no, I did not say we do not need an SSL. If you pay additional for an SSL, Steve, that's what I was talking about. The A2 provides what's called Let's Encrypt, which is an SSL, and that covers all sites. So 100% of the sites that are on their servers have an SSL. You can get a more, I don't know how much more secure that it is, but if you want a specific SSL for your domain, you can purchase that. And that's what Arthur's talking about. It's around $100 a year. And a lot of times people will pay much more than that unnecessarily, but unless you're a bank, you're not looking for something that's extremely expensive. You don't have anybody trying to hack in it daily. No, and I did not, Chelsea. It was that Chessie? No, I did not say delete any version. When you have a backup and you've got a zip file in the root of your folder, that's what's created when you do the backup. So you can create that zip file, download that zip file, and after you have downloaded that zip file, delete that zip file. That's the place that hackers can get in. So as long as that doesn't exist on the root anymore, you're fine. Now, what other methods do you guys use for backup? Because I just explained I can get an entire site in 2 files and take it anywhere. I can go to any hosting company and put that site into operation within 10 minutes. And quite literally, that's pretty much the way that the hosting services do it too. They'll just create zip files of everything, and they take the 2 files and go wherever. Liquid Web. What about Liquid Web, Mitch?
No, we use that to, it's hosting, it's system administration, and back files, and then with the cPanel to manage.
Yeah, using the cPanel. I mean, I've like I say, I've been doing this nearly 25 years, and when I first came across cPanel, I thought this is the bomb because you can do everything in it. And if you don't have it, you're always searching around it. When I've got a reseller account, it's kind of pretty handy because I can go into any one of the sites that I host. Most of them are mine. I got 1 or 2 that I'm just doing favors for people, but that's it.
Yeah,
So I can go ahead.
Yeah, Liquid Web is one of the best. You know, they're HIPAA compliant and you can actually run medical websites from their server and all that. So, I mean, you know, Liquid Web is top notch, that's for sure.
And Jody, yes, you do need to contact GoDaddy. You should have, everybody should have a backup that they have for their own website. And if it's more than a month old, you need to do another backup. But I would not go more than a month without doing a backup. You can throw out the previous one. You don't need to save them. I do. I've just gotten in a bad habit. I've got probably, I don't know, I may have 3 years worth of backups from my own site. And yes, I could just throw them out. You only need one that's at most 2 months old because you're going, well, the one that I just uploaded didn't have something, so go back 1 or more. But generally speaking, when you do a backup, it should have everything that's current in your site. Security provided by your hosting server company enough without needing the web manager to provide extra security monitoring. And what are the specific steps to create a backup of my website? Jesse, you must have come in slowly or late. Some companies provide a lot of security, some don't, but it really depends. Most hosting companies need to make sure that your site is secure, because if your site is not, or you've done something that made it insecure, then they can suffer as a direct result. So if a hacker can get into your site, they could also then get into the other sites that are on that same server if you're in shared hosting. So it's to the hosting company's benefit to make sure that your site is secure. Now, they can't manage your website to see if what you're doing or things that you added or plugins or whatever that you're doing in your website They don't know if you have created a hole, so to speak, for a hacker to get in. So those are the things that you have to consider for yourself. Is what I'm doing okay? That's why I suggested as soon as you create the zip files, the backups for your website, download those and then delete the one that's in the root of your public HTML, because a hacker can get into that. They have to do some digging. It's not like it's a beacon going off saying, hey, get into this website. But if they happen to be digging, they could find that. And that's true. Search engines, not necessarily the search engine, but your browser, like Firefox, they stop you dead in your tracks if you're trying to get into an insecure site. Jody was talking about that. Google does it, but generally it's coming out of your browser. So both Chrome and Firefox will do that. Jesse, you were asking about how can I know that the security of my website is optimized? Let's see if I can find Jesse. There we go. Jesse, maybe you can come online and expand on your question a little bit.
You mean the most recent question?
You were asking if the backup was secure?
Yeah, no, if the website itself, you just made mention of the server hosting company ensuring security, but that they cannot ensure the security of they cannot they do not know if you've created any gaps in your website that could breach security at the level of your website. So
that's true.
Yeah, so the question now is, are there any things that that can give one confidence that the security level at the level of the website, not at the server, has been optimized, like just to be sure that there's no reason for one to think that a hacker could get access to your website?
Well, I think what you're asking, is there something that you would do that could jeopardize the security of your website? And of course, that leads to the security of the hosting company. Generally speaking, whatever you're doing, if you don't know that much about websites, you're better off. You're probably not going to make it insecure. You have to know more about what to do, or maybe some coding, that kind of thing, and think, well, if I just did this and this, then that makes whatever happen that you're trying to do in my site. But be careful with that kind of thing, because that could make it insecure. If you don't know, if you're just adding a plugin, and I gotta stop myself there. WordPress has a lot of plugins, so it's best to find out about the plugin and how long it's been around, how many people have said that this is a great plugin, that sort of thing. So check the validity of it before you add it. But in general, you're not necessarily going to add something to your site that's going to make it insecure. So you shouldn't have to worry about that as just an average user. Does that make sense? Oh, now she's gone. But she was also asking about how you go about making the backup. So I'm going to show you one more time for everybody. You can do it in either order. I'm going to start with the file manager again and go to public_HTML. That's where the files for your website are. They are no place else that you need to be. So you just select everything, and then up at the top of the cPanel, you click on compress. And you choose what kind of zip file. I'm just going to choose this zip file. And you can name it whatever you want. Just leave the .zip after the / and you click compress files, and that takes about a little less than a minute, and it's compressing all the files in the website. generally speaking, if it takes over a minute, you must have a tremendously large site. I've compressed some pretty big sites and they only take about a minute. So if it takes too long, think about that. Anyway, you've got all the files compressed, and down here is the zip file that you can then download and save it wherever you want. And then you watch your browser up the top, and it shows that the file is done. Your download, you've just saved your entire website, and it is complete. You've downloaded it. Once you've done that, delete that zip file. And so I'm deleting from the server. You can see it no longer exists. The second part is to go back to your cPanel and click on Backup, which is just 2 down from where you did the file manager. Click on Backup, click on the name of the database that you want to back up, and there it is. And you can also, before that dot, you can say S2, name it whatever you want so that you remember it, and make sure that it's got a different date on it, which it will as soon as you back it up, or as soon as you save it, it's going to put a different date, today's date on it. So you'll know when that thing was saved. So Jesse, that should be able to get you on your road. Let me see in chat. Mitch, you have another question. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Mitch, your mic isn't on again. Oop. Let's try it this time. There you go. How about now?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Talk a second about the email form. What is that?
Say that again.
The download email forwarders at the bottom.
Oh, on that same page?
Yeah, what is that? Just talk about that. What is that?
Well, those are, if you've created a forward, which means this email address forwards to that email address, that's a forward.
Okay.
If you wanted to download those things, you could. I see no reason to, but maybe somebody's got a reason to download that. I don't know.
So it's like a redirect. It just redirects the email to another email.
Yes, but it literally is forwarding the mail. In other words, a forwarder doesn't actually exist. When I mean, let me say it differently. You have email accounts. And yes, I've got a ton of them. And this is just one site. So you have email accounts. And you can also have forwarders. That's not an account. What's the difference between a forwarder and an account? An account is when you use a username and password to access that email address. That's an account. A forwarder doesn't have an account. It's just out there. And if somebody sends an email through that address, it forwards to an address that you've selected.
Is it a trigger or a process?
Pardon me?
Is it a trigger or a process that does this? That forwarding?
A trigger or a process? Is that what you're...
Yeah, it's like call forward. I got
Well, maybe I can answer that question a little bit differently. In the site, I use forum at tagarrison.com in case somebody from the forum wants to communicate with me. That goes to my main email address. I also have support so that I can differentiate what somebody is sending me. So both of those forward to my primary email address. But I never log into, because they don't have an account. So I don't log into those. It's just when an email is sent to this specific address, then it arrives at wherever I've told it. And I specifically said, go to my primary email address. But I could have it go anywhere. I could forward this to you, literally.
Don't forward. I got enough junk mail, please. Enough.
So do I. That's why I would like to use some of these forwards.
Okay. All right, thanks.
You bet. Yep, Steve, that's right. It's like call 40 on your phone. Let's see. And Robert, it would be the same. In fact, I can do this. I can answer that question pretty easily. Because my particular account with A2 is a reseller account, that means I can have, I can't even remember how many. I don't know, it's like 100 people or something that are posting on mine. I don't use it that way. It's less expensive for me to have a reseller account than it is to have individual shared accounts. So I have a reseller account. So that's prime reason. Once in a while, somebody says, can you host mine, please, please? Or I'm having problems. So I'll host it for a while and say, okay, you guys figure out what you're going to do. But most of these are mine. There's two, well, a third one that's not. At any rate, what I'm saying is that you were asking about different accounts. So yes, you can just click on one of those. I'm now in this other account and I can do anything that I want in there. And from that, I can go back over to another one. Okay, now I'm at a different one and I can do anything I want for that domain. So let's see, that was that Steve? Robert. Let's see, is Robert still? Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, he's asking about having multiple sites on one cPanel and how to do a backup with each one of those websites.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Right.
And I think you do it that way, don't you, Arthur, on Green Geeks?
Yeah, yeah. I have several hosting accounts.
Right.
And yeah, each account I use for different things. And I usually put maybe 7 to 9 at the most 10 websites per cPanel. And then it'll show you a list in your public HTML. It'll show you a list folders of each website. And all you do is just open that folder, click on that folder, and then you would just back up zip the files from there.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Probably a little bit difficult for everybody else to understand, but Robert, I know you know your way around there, so.
Yeah.
And it's funny that Arthur and I do it completely different, but for different reasons. You get used to something and okay, this is the way that I do it. It makes sense to me. And he may have other reasons why he does it that way too. It's kind of one of those where if you got into all the rhymes and reasons, your eyes would probably roll back in your head, but this just is simple for me to do it this way. And each of the websites is completely independent. So if I log out of cPanel, then it's still looking at my user, my account. But I could go to one of the others and it's got an independent account. So it does have a username and password that I can get into just that account. And the same thing with any other one. This is an, oops. This is another account. So each of them is independent.
Yeah,
And
the difference between what Thomas does and I do is he has a cPanel for each one of his websites.
mhm.
What I do is I manage websites, so I have them all. I have different accounts for different types of websites where I can manage them under one cPanel, because the other sites that I have on those are people who have no interest in taking care of doing backup of their website. So it's easier for me to manage that way. Plus I get more bandwidth and stuff like that. So
Moriam, you were asking about recording. All of our sessions, all of our meetings are recorded. and you'll find them in YouTube at youtube.com/at SEO-Tom. And you'll also see that address at the top of our group page, directing you to all of the videos. So you'll find everything that we've been doing for the last couple of years, for the most part, over there at YouTube. And this one will be up there. I'll upload that after. If I have time today, then it's uploaded today. Usually I get busy and it's up by Friday or Saturday morning. So let me ask again. I'll put that in there. I'm looking at the chat as well.
Is it in your tools file?
Here is where all the videos are found in YouTube. And I'm going to give them my tools file. Let me think if I don't remember if I had it in there, do I? Doesn't want me to look. Doesn't like me to share or to search my file. No, I don't have it in there. Why didn't you remind me of that a long time ago, Arthur?
I'm always thinking of stuff to add to that file.
So how does anybody else usually do their backups or maintenance? What other maintenance issues do you guys have? There, I updated that thing. I can send that to everybody. I'd like to hear from people about what they do for their own maintenance.
I think Sue Ellen had her hand up.
Yeah, I was looking at the link. It seems, well, I've said I'll upload that here. Feel like I'm trying to walk and chew gum at the same time today. There, fine. And here is the tool list for those who either don't have it or an update. It's also now got the link to YouTube videos. Who's that pitching? Morian. No pitching, please. Any other questions about backup or maintenance in general? Yes, Jesse, either Arthur or I provide pretty much anything that you're going to need. So get in touch with us if that's what you're looking for. Melissa looks pretty intent. There's Sue Ellen. She's going to have a question I probably won't answer. Go ahead, Sue Ellen.
Well, it's on maintenance, and we were talking about security earlier, and the plugins and the way that sometimes your security is compromised by your plugins.
Mhm.
And Arthur gave a list of good security plugins. One of the ones on his list is one that I use, and every Wednesday I get a list of all the WordPress plugins that have security problems, and it tells you whether or not they've been fixed, plugged, so that you can go update them, or whether or not they have not been plugged, like that WooCommerce fiasco a couple of days ago. A lot of people were having to go in because that was a big problem. People were losing tens of thousands of dollars. So those plugins, and there's still a bunch of WooCommerce plugins on that list. So if you're maintaining your own site, you need to look into one of those security programs that's going to look at those plugins for you, especially if you're doing e-commerce.
So I have two questions. One, Arthur, we need to put that in the tools list, whatever the one was that you suggested. Two, you're saying, Sue Ellen, that WooCommerce had a problem over the weekend? I wonder,
Yes.
I thought it was just because he happened to, I thought this tech guy just disabled WooCommerce.
Well, he did because it was such a problem. But not everybody. By the time that happened, there's still other plugins and add-ons. So he had to shut down the whole thing because there were so many different versions of the WooCommerce plugin. iTheme Security is the one that I get. They have 80 plugins on the list, so that's a weekly kind of average. There are other stores on that list, other e-commerce plugins. So people, I look at it because I have 20, I have client websites I have to look at. Most of them aren't e-commerce, but I look at all my plugins.
So was the WooCommerce situation one that it had an update, and if you updated it, it took down the site, or is it? I'm trying to figure out what he did, because I ended up having to go into the database. Actually, I sent instructions for him to go into the database, and he had the developer who was supposed to be doing that kind of stuff wanted like $150 and wouldn't be able to get to it until the end of the day. And that was too much for this particular company. They couldn't wait that long. So I think,
well, it looks like
20 minutes.
It looks like it depended. I think it depended on who your payment gateway was. It was a combination between WooCommerce and Stripe that was the biggest problem. They have got that patched now. So, but if you're using WooCommerce, you need to be aware of what that problem was. Arthur, you're shaking your head. You know more about it than I do, probably.
Yeah, well, these patches come out really quick. You know, when something like that's discovered, I mean, the patches are almost instantaneous. You know,
Yeah.
so usually when you update your plugin, it takes care of the issue. I mean, I have a few sites that are WooCommerce, and I didn't have no issues with any of them.
I have a question for you guys, because for people who are managing their own, do you guys enable auto updates, or do you want to be in control of those updates?
Arthur is specific about that, and he stated he didn't like to be automatically updated.
Yeah, I don't do any auto updating. You know,
in case there's a bug. Yeah.
Well, it's not only that, but you know, when WordPress updates, it's not always perfect. You know, and a lot of times the plugins are not up to date with what WordPress is. And the other thing is, if you have a server update of your PHP where it jumps up to 8.2 or something like that, and there are several plugins that are not ready for that. You know, so whenever your PHP updates, you know, I let that run for at least 6 months before I even try to boost my server up to that. But no, I don't let anything out of the update. I mean, when there are certain plugins, there has to be. I prefer to do it in sequence. You know, like if you have 8 plugins that need to be updated, one of them WooCommerce, that's the very first one I update. You know, because and if you have WordFence, that's that security plugin, sometimes that'll conflict and lock you out of your website, you know, because there's a file in the plugin that's not quite up to date to what WordFence expects. you know, and it'll shut the site down. You know,
Yeah, I've been through that with the PHP update, as a matter of fact, which is why having those backups off-site is a really good idea.
well,
Yeah.
Jetpack and WordFence are both notorious for that.
I won't use Jetpack anymore because of
No.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jetpack restricts a lot of plugins. I should say it
Yeah.
restricts certain things of other plugins, and that can cause a conflict. So
Yeah, the conflicts are
yeah, you just go
notorious.
in and, yeah, and turn it off, disable it, and you won't have the conflict, you know. But no, I
Okay.
don't ever auto update anything. If you have a small site, you know, where if you all you got is 6 or 7 plugins, you know, where it's just a
Yeah.
basic, you know, then it's probably okay. You know, I probably wouldn't worry about too much at that point. But if you got like 20 or 30 plugins, no, definitely not.
Yeah. I have a few that are like that. And the e-commerce makes me nervous, you know, just because you're dealing with people's money if there's a problem.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, usually on for WooCommerce sites, I'll use security, and then that way that will let me know, you know, who's logging in, what accounts are getting created, you know, that kind of stuff.
I like Joomla.
Thanks
Can't
for
automate
that
it.
insight. Yeah, I hear you, Tom. I haven't dealt with Joomla in a while, but that was one of those huge sites. It was transferring from Joomla to WordPress was a nightmare with that one.
Oh,
So.
I'll bet. Maintenance is a lot easier with Joomla. You can't auto update, and the updates are there. You do them one at a time. You can do all of them, but you're going to run into problems. Only because you've got too many plugins that are trying to update all at the same time. So
Right.
just do one, update it, do the next one,
Mhm.
update that, and that's it. I always do a backup before I touch any updates.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Always
Yeah.
do a backup. Yeah.
Yep. Even if it's just an update for Joomla itself. Nope. Got to do a backup.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Yeah. You only
there's
have
two or
to,
three-
you know,
There's 2 or 3 plugins that I go, the guy that makes this one is really good. So I trust that one. That's fine. Just
Yeah.
update it.
I use Updraft a lot. You know, I'll do a backup.
GoDaddy won't let you. So that's another good reason for changing
Yep.
hosting for me.
That's
Because
right.
I really liked Updraft.
Yeah, well,
They want you to use their backups and stuff. But
yeah, and they charge you 3 times the rate.
Yeah.
I move a lot of sites off GoDaddy. You know, I mean, I had one client that was paying $120 a month for security, and it was unnecessary. It was just a basic site. You know, and that's what they do. They'll sell you on security.
yeah.
It's another reason I like Joomla. You can't push your update until it's been authorized by Joomla.
Mm.
So you're not going to have an update. It's pretty rare. Once in a while you have one come. The only thing it bothers may be the developer. There is a particular function that's not there, but at least it doesn't take down the site.
That's
What are
always
kind of-
good.
Sorry, go ahead.
When you're updating your site, you should always know where your error file is at. You know, because your error file is going to tell you what's wrong, what happened, at what time, and if you have multiple users on your website,
Who did it?
Tell you the user. Yeah. So
Now, Mitch, you had something that you said was off topic. I was trying to see. Oh, what was your unrelated question? Do you still remember that?
Here. And I know this is a big, huge issue. how can you solve the problem of Google not indexing?
Google what?
Google not indexing your website.
That it's a loaded question. There's no simple answer because it can depend on a lot of things.
Right, and it tells you, like in Search Console or whatever, it tells you what that is. But is there like a systemic way, mathematical way to approach, like the top 5 issues? Is there a way to, isolate them, attack them? Is there any type of manual guide to, okay, these are the top 5 issues, 5 sites of index. This is what you do.
I think the first thing is to determine that Google is simply not going to index that particular page. So that's always going to be my first question is, well, how long has it been that it hasn't been indexed? So you have to kind of start there and work your way. There isn't a, oh, if this happens, then I know it's blah, blah, blah. You do have to do some drilling to figure out what's the reason that a page is not.
Issues, like redirects or recognize it. I'm just wondering if you have dug down and provided any analysis.
What are you talking about? Search Console and indexing issues?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Well, if you get a warning from Search Console that tells you it may affect your indexing, it probably has it. I mean, because the warnings sometimes tell you that they're critical or non-critical. If they're non-critical, that's not going to affect your page getting indexed.
I'm simply looking at the pages option. I think it's on Search Console, and you see, okay, this has been indexed, this has not been. Okay, so you go down, say it's not been indexed because of 404 redirect. There's a half a dozen,
Right.
mice in these stories. Why it's not. So my question is, have anyone drilled down and kind of come up with the top 10?
Well, there's one that is kind of a false positive, and that is the one where it's text too small to read, text too wide for area. There's 3 of them, and sometimes that's a caching thing with the website, and sometimes Search Console will pick up on that, and it's not true. So the only way you can do is go to the page where the problem is and check it, and see. But as far as the top 5, or I mean, geez, there's so many. I can't really say that they're the top 5 common.
Like the most occurring, or the most like low-hanging fruit that you can grab and do something to make it re-index.
So I mean, just Search Console has so many algorithms,
right?
I mean, I deal with a lot of websites, and usually it could be schema markup, could be, probably one of the popular ones that could affect indexing, but is not critical because schema markup is not page rank. Anytime you do breadcrumbs and schema markup for a website, that is not a page ranking factor. However, it does help you in the search results. So Google is so unclear about everything, that it is or it isn't, but without knowing the errors, I wouldn't be able to tell you, honestly.
And sometimes you just don't see, there are no particular errors, it just isn't indexed, and you're going, why?
Yeah. best way to check an error is copy the error, the line where it gives you the error,
Mhm.
and Google it. And you'll get all kinds of past instances of why and how to fix it and that kind of thing. I mean, Google has become, over the last 5 to 7 years, has become so semantic, that you could just ask it a question, and find what you're looking for. I'm dealing with an instance right now where I've got a PDF that won't download on iPhone, but will on Androids.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's the way iPhones are set up.
Hmm.
With Androids, it downloads right to your file. If you got Drive, Google Drive or something connected, not a problem. iPhones, it's different.
Mitch, what are you trying to share?
The exact thing, the messages that I'm getting. I have it up real quick if you wanted to take a look. Will we coming to the meeting here?
You should see a green button down the bottom of your screen says share.
Do you guys see this thing?
Yep.
It's simply like this, not indexed. Yes, it gives you these. But
Hey, the 74, that's excluded by no index tag.
Yeah, each of them seems to be, except for the discovered, currently not indexed, crawl, currently not indexed. Those are like, well, which is it? Are you gonna index it? You won't know until you start
what
digging
to
into it.
do about this? Yeah.
Page with redirect, soft 404, or 404 not found. Those are all pretty obvious. Those are things you can do immediately.
Yeah,
Not bad.
are you using WordPress?
Yeah.
Okay, what SEO plugin are you using?
We're using our own product. Oh, SEO Turbo Booster.
So your SEO plugin, there's usually Yoast or Rank Math or all
Right
of them.
now, it's not Yoast. It's our actual product. That's our product we sell is SEO Turbo Booster.
Was there a change in that recently?
You gotta check.
We'll see a lot of times with WordPress, there are SEO plugins that will default to creating a sitemap for your categories and tags. And you don't ever want to index tags because all that does is create like-kind content across the internet. And then there's other plugins that will have that turned off by default.
I mean, our main product is we use short codes. We build a home page. We build in the short codes that match up with the keywords and locations. And we have a product that automatically can generate the pages. Okay,
Right.
They're all unique. Meta tags, headers, et cetera, et cetera. And we do it, whatever the customer wants. They want 100 funnel pages, and however they want to define. So it's kind of like a mini campaign. Geared toward raising up their Google rank.
Okay, can you click on discovered currently not indexed? Okay, scroll down. See, back on 6.5, you had a jump in pages. So at that particular date, something changed on your website to where you had a bunch of pages that became non-indexed. In other words, there's either a robot text file or something that's blocking those pages from getting indexed. So you scroll down and you look at what your links are, and it seems to be Toddlers Got Milk. And each one has looks like a location. Yep.
Yep.
So each one of those looks like they're landing pages, and they're optimized for location. And they're not getting indexed. Yeah, click on, go over and hover. Yeah, inspect the URL. Okay, now test live URL up there in the upper right. The black button there. Here, oh,
Oh,
over
yeah,
to the right,
okay.
there you go, yep. Now it'll take a few minutes, and when this goes through, it's gonna tell you whether it has been discovered to be indexed. See, the reason those pages aren't indexed, because basically they're all like-kind content. It looks like the thing that's going on is you're using the same content for each location.
Right. But we're changing the location name.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, when you have that much content repeating itself, Google's not going to index it.
I saw somebody else do that. We were just talking to somebody a few days ago doing the same thing. I said, well, it doesn't make any difference that it's a different page because of the city or the state or area. It's the same content.
Yeah, you have to jumble the content up. You have to change it for each one.
Well, we do have a trigger where we text it. So in other words, we have like 4 content blocks, and then there's a process that says, okay, you know, we randomize it that way.
Okay. URLs available to Google. Now click on request indexing. See, what you probably will have to do is go through each one of those and manually do that.
Mm-hmm.
The
Oh,
other
Lord,
option,
there's got to be an easier way.
there is an easier way.
Go ahead.
Okay, there is a indexing website to where you can buy tokens. I can't remember the name of it. I use it and I can't remember. I can't believe it. Called Omega Indexer.
Omega Index.
Omega Indexer, yeah. It's hard to get an account with them. They were shut down for a while, but
Well, you got to know somebody in the family.
well, they're busy because there's a lot of marketers who use it. And you can submit all those URLs, and you're probably going to have better results going through them than to do this manually. And it's not that expensive. It really isn't.
Okay, great. Great tip. You have a connection there? We know somebody.
But I mean, to see the reason, the whole reason why they're not indexed is because Google is bouncing off those and they're finding the same content on every one of them. So they're in no hurry to index.
But isn't that their business? Isn't that what they do?
Well, what you're doing was used 20 years ago, back in the day when affiliate marketing, and before the algorithm Penguin that was released in 2011, that type of specifying locations and stuff was omitted. You know, I mean, adding locations to the same page of content and having hundreds of them, to target locations. I mean, you have to change that content. I mean, it works, but it's got to be done in a way to where now with Google, everything has to be authoritative, has to be quality, has to be high engaging, fact-based type content.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other questions about backing up and maintenance of, excuse me, of a website? We're just a couple minutes past. Quiet group today. Robert, any questions? Oh, Melissa, you've been awfully intense. You got it all? Everything's all makes sense to you now?
I'm just here to learn. If I stay quiet, I'll look wise.
Yeah, that's Jody's excuse too.
I will add to Mitch's question because I got my Google console email. My website's very simple. What I'm saying, you guys probably all know, but when I built my website, then I went back and kind of tweaked it. So I changed my, I changed one page from, accommodations to amenities. And then now it's, telling me that it can't find the accommodations page because it's now called amenities. And then I changed, the page that was, photos to gallery. Now it can't find the photos page. It's hunting for the photos page. And then, I rebuilt the amenities page. So, I didn't know about backing up, but I just copied that page. And so I had the amenities page and amenities #2 page. Well, when I got it the way I wanted, I deleted amenities 2, which was my backup. And, now I can't find the amenities 2 page. So everything that Mitch was talking about, I have like 7 pages that, Google Console can't find because I've deleted them, but it's still out in Google's mind somewhere that they're there and it can't find them. So I don't know how to tell it to quit hunting for them, but
Do you have a sitemap?
I don't know.
Yeah.
See,
have
I know
to-
enough to be dangerous, which is,
You have to set up 301 redirects for the old URL to the new URL.
well, and I have Wix, and I went in there and asked how to, find the old pages and delete them. And I thought that I did it, and I did on some of them, but apparently I didn't do all because Google still knows they're out there.
So I'm
So-
the sitemap, and Jody's telling me I'm the sitemap. But Wix is probably different. Does Wix allow sitemaps, or do they have
Oh
sitemaps?
yeah, of course.
So go to Wix and find my sitemap and
Yeah,
then delete
to
them.
make sure to have that updated. That should always be updated anytime that you make
Well-
changes to the pages.
It's if you delete them, there is a place in Wix where you can
Hmm.
set up redirects, and you will either have to set up a 301 redirect or 410 redirect. A 410 redirect means the content's gone; it no longer exists.
Mhm.
A 301 redirect, you updated the page's URL, and you just moved it to another page.
Mhm.
That's what a 301. It's called a permanent redirect.
Okay.
And then you
A
go back to
41,
Search
a
Console.
410 or a 301, you said 301.
301 is a permanent redirect. A 410 is content deleted,
Okay.
page gone, and the page just doesn't exist no more. And then once you do that, you go back to Search Console, and just like Mitch did, you go and you verify that's a change, and then it'll run through the process and stuff.
So if I tweak a page and update a page and add new content to a page, I need to go on there and tell it to whatever he just did,
Don't ask me what I did, I don't even know.
tell it to
Reindex.
research that page and
Yeah.
and reindex the page.
Yeah, that's only not if you're changing the content. If you're changing the URL, the page name,
Mhm.
You know, like if your link, page1.com and you change it to page2.com, you have to add the 301 redirect for page 1 to page 2.
Okay, so like I updated my photos on a particular page. I was under the impression that I had to re-index that page because all the pictures have keywords and stuff on them. I don't have to re-index that page.
No,
Okay.
Not if it's already indexed. No, if you're just making content changes, then no. I mean, you can submit the URL and have it, it'd probably speed up the process, you know, within Search Console.
Okay.
You just go ahead and submit a new URL or the same URL,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll go through the motion just like we did with Mitch.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, it'll ping Google to check the page again, but with Wix, I'm sure that any change that you do, it's already pinging Google.
Okay. Okay. See, that's why I'm quiet, because I show how smart I am. I'll mute myself now. Thank you.
You gotta ask questions. That's how you get smart. Well, there you go, everybody. Any other questions before we go? You guys are all searching for something. I will say, if he's still here, Steve, I think, was asking, if you're on Joomla has redirects, you just tell it, you don't need to know whether it's 304 or 301, it knows what to do. You're just saying this now goes to this page. That's it, you're done. It's real handy. It's not a plugin, it's just part of the system. So there you go, everybody. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next week. Let's see, today's the 21st. Does that mean that we're networking next week? I have to look at my calendar. 21st. Yes, we're networking next week. So there you go. You gonna show up for networking? Everybody say yes, even if you're lying. All right. You guys have fun. Take it easy. Thanks for coming. To see ya.